Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the June edition of our Catch Up with Keeper webinar series. This is sort of, I guess, the Scaling New Heights edition of our series, as I am here in Orlando, and I have met many of the normal attendees on this webinar. So if you are calling in from Scaling New Heights, welcome, and thank you for joining us. Otherwise, if you are not calling in from Scaling New Heights, thank you for joining us all the same. Awesome. All right, folks. Well, we're going to go ahead and get things started. So once again, thank you all so much for joining us today. First, the requisite disclaimer: if you have questions, please drop them into the Q&A section at the bottom of the webinar rather than dropping them into the chat, and that will make sure that I get to them. And in case this is your first time joining us, basically what we'll be doing today is walking through all of the latest updates in Keeper that we've shipped over the last month. All right, and with that, I will go ahead and share my screen and dive on in. Okay, so we're going to kick things off with some workflow updates. First, on the topic of sign-offs, I know many of you have talked about the high volume of sign-off emails you may now be receiving. And so in case you want to reduce the volume of emails you're getting in Keeper, you can now turn off emails about those sign-offs by unchecking this box right here. In addition to email sign-off notifications, we also made some updates to sign-offs in your tasks. You can now check to this box right here to see all of the tasks where you are required to sign off on them. So this will filter regardless of whether you are the assignee and just show you the tasks where you are the next sign-off. So it could be a quick, easy way to filter any view for what you need to action on. And speaking of filtering this view, we also added one major improvement to due date filtering. So now you can customize the due dates to just see tasks that are due in a particular date range. And I may not have any tasks that are due in that date range, but the filter works all the same. Okay, so that's the updates for workflow this month. Next, on to emails. Big exciting update that I'm sure a lot of y'all have been eagerly awaiting, which is you can now preview files directly on the email rather than having to download them. So here you can see we're previewing a PDF, and then even spreadsheets, CSVs, and XLSX files, anything that you can view as a file. If your clients or anyone else emails you those, you can view those here as well. And another major update is we also added the ability to connect multiple practice emails. So I think my annotation is moving things out of the way here. Move this elsewhere. Okay. So you can click this add inbox button and add multiple individual emails or multiple practice emails. And then you can also, just like with your practice emails, you can control who has access to those inboxes as well. So if you have a info at email, sales at email, clients at email, you can connect all of those now and read them all in the same place. All right. Moving on to receipts. I just kind of noticed that y'all can now see my screen. Hopefully the first pieces were not we're also sharing as well. So someone jump in the chat and let me know if you only now just became able to see my screen. Okay, all right. Thank you, Erica. Perfect. All right. Okay, on to receipts. Minor but important improvement to receipts search, which is you can now search basically all of the contents of forwarded emails. So basically, if your clients, let's say your client sent you this email and they said, hey, this is recruiting software or ATS software. If you search for recruiting software, even though that's not anywhere in the contents of the receipt itself, that will still show up because it's contained within the email that got forwarded in alongside of the receipt. All right. And now shifting gears into the portal. I talked last month about some updates that we were going to make to the Client Portal 2.0 to make things work more smoothly. And I'm going to dive briefly into our settings to talk about those. The first is user settings. A lot of folks were Not happy with the enter automatically sending a message and would prefer enter to be adding a line break so that you can then click the enter button whenever you're ready. And so we added a setting for that. If you would prefer enter to continue sending your messages, no need to go here. But if you would prefer to have shift enter be what enter is today, so sending your message, and then enter today being starting a new line, you can do that just by clicking this setting right here in your user settings. And so here, just to show what that looks like, now if I hit enter, that will just add a line break. And that happens everywhere throughout the app in your questions and in comments as well. So just one place you need to change that setting. All right. And speaking of settings, now we're going to dive into a practice setting for a big update. A lot of y'all would prefer to not need to manually upload every receipt that your clients send you, especially if they're attaching it to a transaction question. And so we added a setting to do that for you. If you go to your client portal settings and then inbound questions and files, there's this new setting called automatically sync uploaded transaction files to QuickBooks Online and Xero. If you check this, and then your client uploads a file for you in the portal, go ahead and do that now. We need to refresh this page here. Okay, so client submits that file. And now if we go into our client questions and just refresh the page here, we can see on that transaction, if we open up our files, we do have that file and it's still here in Keeper as well, but we can see it's also been automatically uploaded to QuickBooks at the same time. So hopefully that will save y'all a bunch of clicks over the course of needing to work through your client's responses. All right, and last but not least, shifting gears from transaction questions to non-transaction questions, we also added a minor but really important improvement to the readability of the questions here over on the left-hand side. So with Portal 2.0, we introduced the concept of a subject. And so here you can have a subject that's basically what a thread is about, and then you can have your first message, which could also be the subject just copied and pasted, as is the case here. But this sort of works more similar to how an email works. You can have a subject, and then you can have a body. But for many existing questions, first off, these are not required, so you can leave a subject blank. And then also for many existing questions, those subjects were blank. And the problem with that is previously we were only showing the subject here over on the left-hand side. And so that made it super hard to just like skim through your transaction questions and see which questions or which line is about what. So basically what we did is now if a question does not have a subject, we'll just take the first body and put that here. So it will continue to work how non-transaction questions always have worked, and hopefully will make this much more skimmable as well. Of course, you can also search and filter through these questions too to get to the particular question you're looking for. All right, moving on to metrics. A few improvements to the metrics visualizations. First is we added the ability to have stacked bar charts. Essentially, a stacked bar chart is like a pie chart through time. And I think it's a really good way to display, for example, if you have different types of spend, how that spend is broken out over time, how that's evolving over time. But basically, you just go to your visuals, and now there's a new visual type called stacked bar chart. We also added new date range options here, so you can choose between calendar year to date, fiscal year to date, 12 months, or even 1 month as well. So yeah, some more options there. And then one other improvement is we also added the ability to have a comparison to a prior time period. So here, if you wanted to see, for example, net income for the current year to date compared to net income in the prior year, you can see that just by toggling on this compare to prior time period option. Okay. And then last but not least, in the timers, one minor improvement to capacity planning, we added the ability to have multiple filters applied at once. So if you wanted to say, I only want to look at maybe bill pay and payroll, as the work streams that I'm filtering for here, you can have multiple work streams filtered and or multiple employee options filtered here as well. Okay, so those are all the major updates in Keeper over the course of the last month. We'll now turn things over to the Q&A. Okay, 2K Consulting asked, are there any plans to allow printing in Keeper emails? It's an interesting option. Definitely not something that I was aware of, but definitely can look into that. I don't think printing should be too terribly challenging, but if you wouldn't mind adding a canny and then also adding some more context on why you'd like to see printing in Keeper emails, that's super helpful for helping us prioritize and make sure that we ship the right thing. Okay, next question on the task list. Do standard users still only see tasks assigned to them, or do they now have the ability to see tasks across all users? This is a great question. The short answer is standard users do still only see tasks assigned to them. However, the role that is sort of slightly elevated above that, that is what we recommend for folks who want similar levels of control to what you have on the task list, but more visibility so that those users can see tasks that are in the clients that they have access to without giving them access to all clients. So we actually have the manager user role. And so managers, much like standard users, can have a certain set of clients that you give them access to, but they have a slightly broader set of visibility and permissions. Most notably, they can see all of the tasks that are in all of the clients that they have access to on the task list, rather than just seeing tasks that are assigned to them directly. Erica asked, when you have the new setting enabled to automatically upload files to QBO, what is the workflow when a client accidentally attaches the wrong file? Can you delete it from Keeper, or do you need to delete it in QuickBooks as well? Unfortunately, today you would need to delete that in QuickBooks, but I do think that is a good new use case to consider. Jamie asked if I could just show where you have that option to toggle between enter being send and enter being line break. That is a user level setting. So each user does need to, or does have the ability to choose this on their own. You go to your user settings right here, and then when writing messages, press enter two, and then send the message would obviously send the message, or here you can choose start a new line. All right. Next question. In non-transaction questions, I have multiple longtime clients who consistently post their answer on the wrong question. Can you please change the highlighting so it is more clear which question you're replying to? Interesting. Okay, Katie would love to sort of take this sidebar offline to learn more about your experience. If you want to send me an email, I will be happy to sort of take a closer look and go back and forth on that. Okay. Regina asked, is there a way to mass edit budgeted times? Not currently. You do have to do those one by one at the moment. Okay. Kimberly asked, in the reporting section, top 10 vendors does not seem to pull in COGS vendors. Is there a way to change that? Unfortunately, the top 10 vendors by spend report is pulling in essentially the top 10 vendors on the list of the expenses by vendor summary. So we are a little constrained in terms of what data returns there and doesn't. An anonymous attendee asked, new Keeper user here, in a close, is there a way to reorder the tasks under the account rec section? They don't seem to be listed by due date or alphabetically. You can. I will go there and show how. So first off, all tasks in Keeper can be dragged and dropped to reorder them however you'd like. In addition, you can also reorder the accounts to match the order of the profit and loss of the balance sheet by going to these three dots right here, and then click reorder accounts. All right. It looks like those are all the questions. So I will give folks another couple of minutes or so to ask any more questions that you may have, which always prompts people to ask a few follow-ups. Okay, any plans to make the comment icon a different color to make it stand out on the client's page? Um, I can't say that's something we currently have plans for. Um, But yeah, happy to. If you want to make a canny for that, then we can definitely take a look if you can sort of, it's a great place to explain more of your thinking, more so than a back and forth Q&A in the in this one-way webinar. Jesse asked, in receipts, is there a way to turn on inclusive slash exclusive tax and have the math calculated automatically? I'm consistently forced to enter the tax amounts manually. It's a great question. So what we do today is we automatically extract the details off of the receipt itself. And so that should be more precise than doing the calculation amount. Um, if you wouldn't mind sending in a message about any of those manual issues you're experiencing, just write into the chat and send us a couple of screenshots. That's super helpful for helping us continue to improve keeper receipts, especially those places where we are failing. We don't always have the most visibility into, and so seeing that would be really helpful to help us make that continue to improve. Erica Doreen asked, when doing a comparison in visual charts, can you have two separate colors? I'm not sure I'm totally understanding necessarily what the question is, but just to show in metrics visuals, you can have two different colors. Maybe I'm not misunderstanding. Um, it's maybe hard to see on my screen here, but for comparison versus prior year, it is a lighter shade of the color that you choose. So if I chose net income, if I did this as like a green, for example, you'll see it shows up as a lighter green. Um, Kimberly asks, is there a way to change the background color of the user initials? That's a good question. There is not currently a way to do that. I would just recommend uploading a profile photo at the moment. An anonymous attendee asked, will you be adding a reconciled through option in account reconciliation? Great question. I would love to be able to answer this question. Yes, right now it is a QuickBooks API limitation. So if you have a contact at Intuit, tell them that you want this feature. We've told them a number of times. Hopefully now that that the API is starting to be paid for, this means that they will invest more in the API itself. So we're optimistic, and definitely the moment that API becomes available, we will add this. But right now it's an API restriction. Erica asked, any updates to the Chrome extension in the new QBO bank feed? Yes, we finally have access to the new QBO bank feeds, so we are now working on a fix. An anonymous attendee asked, can you change the default text for the inbox? I assume that means for like what text you send in when you're drafting a new email. Not currently, although that's definitely a good feature request. Okay, Erica asks, any plans to add the ability to move files from the email to other places in Keeper? Yes, definitely. This is absolutely something we want to be able to support. Not the least of which, for example, if your clients email you a receipt, just being able to move that directly to a client, absolutely. Brittany asked, has the team worked on allowing clients to edit the name of the files they upload or the ability to create folders on the portal? I can't say this is something that is currently on our roadmap, but definitely a good feature request. Okay, Jamie asked, since we have time, could you review the performance column? I would be happy to. Okay, so this performance column right here, basically what this does is this looks at your due date of your close, and then the date your close is completed, and it's green if your close was completed on time, so before the due date or on the due date. It's red if your close was completed late, so after the due date, and then it's gray if your close was not completed. So if you still have some open closes, you will see the gray option here. Here you can see this was completed on May 29th. Move this Q&A out of the way. Oops. On this close was completed on May 29th, where it was actually due on May 8th. So you can get a quick high-level preview of which closes are currently being delivered on time and which closes are consistently delivered late. Melissa asked, any plans to be able to add a new task from the tasks page with a dropdown to assign to the client? I usually work from this page and having to navigate out of that page into the client to add new tasks. Yeah, it's definitely something that we've talked about internally. I would love to support it. I can't say it's on the immediate roadmap, but definitely totally understand the use case here, both within the task list as well as sort of more broadly, for example, things like on the in the Chrome extension. Jeannie asked, any plans for adding executive summaries using AI? Definitely, this is an area we are doing a lot of internal experimentation with, is AI throughout the application. We'll have some exciting announcements more broadly related to that in the coming months. So short answer is stay tuned. Okay, Dean asked once again about the reordering of columns. I hear you, Dean. Definitely still working on this. Second question, any chance when statements get attached to QBO, they can be pushed or pulled to Keeper? There is some stuff we are working on to automatically pull statements. We'll hopefully, again, talk more about that in the coming months. But short answer is TBD. So yeah, stay tuned. An anonymous attendee asked, is there a place where we can have general tasks for ourselves in Keeper unrelated to a specific client? My two recommendations here would be one, to just create a like personal client that you put those tasks in, or to use the firm tasks. And then firm tasks is where you can put anything that's just for firm related work, although everyone in the firm can see firm tasks. So we are working on private tasks, although that is not currently available in the app. Aisha asks, is there a comments or notes field being added to uploads and keep receipts? Is that on the roadmap? Yes, definitely on the roadmap. You are not alone in wanting to see comments on the receipts. Kimberly asked, how can I see what the client sees in their portal? If you go to a client's close page, and then you go to their portal, there is this preview option here. Sorry, I gotta move this Q&A section out of here. There's this preview option right here. You can click this preview, and then this will show you what their portal looks like. An anonymous attendee asks, what are the columns I'm seeing that are showing your team members on the screen? This is probably preparer, reviewer, and manager. If you don't see those, these are practice level settings. You go to your practice settings, workflows, and then you need to make sure you turn on prepare, reviewer, and manager. And these are basically close level rules, so they are assigned to the close. That way, if you change a team member out from one close to the next, you can see who is working on a close at any given point in time. You can also change those assignee labels. So if you want close preparer to be called something else, you can turn this override assignee labels options here as well. Okay, and anonymous attendee asked, can you please show how to create a private client like you mentioned for creating personal tasks? Yeah, you would just go to add client, choose an unconnected client, and then maybe I would choose like you could choose a like just every section being hidden, so we can sort of toggle with those later. And then access and roles, we would just select all the users with access. So admins do have access to all client files, so this really only works if you are the admin, but you can select the users with access, and then this will default to only showing the admins, and then you can add the unconnected client. Only admins and super admins can create unconnected clients. An anonymous Cindy asks, is there a way to refresh the account recs with updated GL account numbers? We have a few clients where we've reworked their chart of accounts and the GL numbers. We haven't found a way to refresh those. Yeah, this is definitely a something that we are working on improving. Unfortunately, the best solution today is to just delete the account rec task and then add a new one, and that will have the new GL account number. Spencer asks the roadmap for more custom user roles. Definitely something that we've been discussing internally. If you wouldn't mind adding more details on Canny, for example, about what specific types of user roles and permissioning you'd like to see supported, we would love to hear about that. Okay, and Jesse asked, when a client uploads a requested receipt, can you please show me how to create line items for a split? For example, a meal has tax, but the tip does not. Okay, so if you go to a receipt here, just pull this one up here, you can create line items by clicking add line item. And then I think the tax implies this is probably a Canadian client. So we do only have tax down at the very bottom. I'll show what this looks like in a Canadian client. So maybe we have GST on meals and meals, exempt. So you do still put the total amounts just down here at the bottom. Bonnie asks, is there a way to disconnect a QBO without deactivating the client, so without archiving the client presumably, and then keep the client as an unconnected client? There's not a way to do this internally, but you can do this by messaging our chat, and then we can help you with that. Okay, Jesse asked specifically when they upload a question. Let's see if I can. So a question would be tied to a transaction here. Let's see, sorry, this file is not the best. So basically, you can come in here and edit. You don't actually have the ability in Canadian files to add new line items here today. So yeah, not currently, I guess, a good option for how to do that if it's already posted to an existing transaction.
I will add though that you could, excuse me, link to the QuickBooks transaction, right? And so maybe can you point out that shortcut? Because I don't think a lot of people know about that.
Sure. although I do have to be logged into QuickBooks to show this. Okay, one minor cool feature to be aware of if you are not currently aware of it is that all of the dates are clickable. So anytime you see a transaction, if you click this date, it will automatically take you into that client file. Or sorry, that expense in that client file. This will, for what it's worth, switch you into this client. So we're here in DemoCo, and it will switch us into DemoCo. If we were working on a different file, let's say here, you get the what happened to your QuickBooks page option. But that does also mean if you are working in Keeper, anytime you click this, it will automatically make sure you go to the right client. And so here you could come in and edit the line items appropriately. All right. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like those are all the questions here, folks. Every time I say this, someone pops in with one last question. Okay. Oh, the question is just thank you. You're welcome, Jesse. All right. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your always busy days to join us on this June edition of our Catch Up with Keeper webinar series. We will be back here the same time next month. So thank you all so much for joining us. And once again, in case you were doing other work on the side or you only caught the back half of this, these are all posted to our YouTube channel where you can watch a recording at any time. All right. Bye, y'all.